come on and set me free. I said, Warden, 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 won't you break the lock and key? I said, Warden, 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 won't you break your lock and key?
The mothership has landed. Pirate Radio. Welcome to the jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, live from the broken down, low-rent, sleazy, double greasy Pirate Radio Nut Hut Studios, it's time for the very first ever Southern...
Right now, it's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines,
Clocks run out. Time's up. Wind is blowing cold and dark. On the road and no way out. A broken house, a smoking gun. On the run. On the run.
Oh yeah, my name's Jimmy. It's what the F Wednesday night. Welcome, Clyde Lewis listeners. We got a great one planned for you tonight. Steve Coynan from Slow News Days here, Epic Journeyman's here, I'm here, and we're about to rip a hole in the side of the New World Order. But first, Into the Microcosm is on the air.
A lot about women. I think I learned exactly how the fall of man occurred in the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and Adam said one day, wow, Eve, here we are at one with nature, at one with God. We'll never age, we'll never die. And all our dreams come true the instant that we have them. And Eve said, yeah, it's just not enough, is it?
And what does an atheist scream when they come? That's another one, too. Oh, chemical chance! Chemical chance! What would you, if you were an atheist, what would you yell? Oh, fate, fate and destiny, fate and destiny. Chemical chance, chemical chance. Big bang! I'm getting that close to hell right now. It's getting a little warm. You know what, though? I find it ironic that people who are against things that cause sexual thoughts are generally fundamentalist Christians who also believe you should be fruitful and multiply. Isn't that weird? Don't you think they'd be for things that cause sexual thoughts? You know what I mean? Maybe even a centerfold in the Bible? I don't know. Miss Deuteronomy?
It's Aftermath.fm. Journeyman. Are you there?
I am here.
Excelente. Well, you're not one the worse for wear. Looks like your board's still in one piece, even though that wave keeps almost snapping it in half. Every time those Samoans
hey man, I saw
cut.
somebody of those wave riders with the hydrofoils today.
Did you saw some of the hydrofoils?
He walked out into the street without looking and almost got it cut in half with the car.
Get out. You were staring at the hydrofoils and you almost got run over.
Yeah, well, not by me. He wasn't looking. He was looking like
Yeah.
one way, but not both ways.
Uh-huh.
Not the way he was stepping out to the street.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, dude, half of my skull is melted off from that show we did last night. I gotta say, Andrew Bartzis was here last night. AndrewBartzis.com and the Galactic Historian and the world according to Andrew Bartzis. And I gotta say, like I said, the side of my face is still melting from last night. What about you, man?
I was melting, but I didn't know if it was from that or just from the day's work previously. But I think it might have been that. You know,
Yeah, I
the
don't
air
know,
conditioning
man.
didn't make it better. It's like, man, I'm melting.
I'm melting. Mine's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. Tonight's the night, and you are here, and this is it. And now is the time, ladies and gentlemen.
I beg your pardon? The average fan listens for, are you ready for this? An hour and 20 minutes.
Something. Every now and then, say what the fuck. What the fuck gives you freedom? Freedom brings opportunity. Opportunity makes your future.
Your stats are very respectable. You've done some solid work here. But it's not quite Ivy League now, is it?
You know, Bill, there's one thing I've learned in all my years. Sometimes you gotta say, what the fuck?
I beg your pardon? The average fan listens for...
He's the people they warned you about. It's Steve Paquinin from Slow News Day. Steve Paquinin, are you there?
Jimmy, how's it going, brother?
It's going great, man. It's kind of weird in here. I just moved into the new studio and I haven't dampened the walls yet, so when I'm yelling out like that, it's echoing in here like a chamber, like an echo chamber. I sound like a mockingbird in the echo chamber. So how you doing, man? It looks like something's going on over there. I saw you were very active prior to the show, and you mentioned some things that were a bit disturbing. Do you want to get into a little bit of that before we get rolling here?
Yeah, let's jump right into that bit. On on Friday, the Biden administration escalated their war on journalism and on activism and on the truth. And it looks like the Justice Department is operating from a place of revenge because a lot of the hacktivists, three prominent hacktivists that ran afoul of the Obama-Biden administration got varying degrees of over the last few days. Marty G., who was a conservative blogger, had his legal defense fund taken down on GoFundMe. Barrett Brown from Project PM and Project Schwartz just got new sealed charges. And then Commander X, who's one of the more out in the open, unmasked members of Anonymous, high-profile hacker, one of the, I think the only member of Anonymous to get any sort of political asylum. That asylum was revoked on Friday with zero due process, without informing X of any of this. Refugee status asylum was violated. He was renditioned up here to Santa Rita. So he's sitting in the in Alameda County right now in Santa Rita jail, on a 10-year-old charge for DDoSing the Santa Cruz County website. All the way back from 2011, when he was the quote unquote homeless hacker. You remember in 2011 when there was that sleep in front of the courthouse? Like 30 days, people went and camped out in front of the courthouse. You off in your Jimmy land?
I do. I wasn't in Jimmy land. I was typing. Yeah. No, I totally do. Yeah.
So he was instrumental in that, and that's where he sort of became Commander X. But there was a DDoS attack with several thousand computers on the Santa Cruz County website. And this is what they're trying to get X for a decade later, now that he's pushing 60 and in poor health. They decided that would be a good time to break into his house and kidnap him. So we have been getting the word out as much as possible. I'm in pretty much constant contact with a member of his family. There is an official at Free Commander X _ account on Twitter that has all of the updates as they come in. And this is just a massive violation of liberties and an international treaty, and doesn't speak any kind of good about AMLO and his commitment or the ability for people to seek, receive, and maintain asylum.
Well, and the other thing is, too, there's these, everybody was cool with there being these prisons inside of prisons during the, reign on terror or whatever. And so we've got these, America has okayed this secret prison system that exists that you can literally be black bagged into and taken away with, tie wraps on your hands. And no one will ever know what happened to you, Steve. And I mean, the thing is, these are actually inside of government facilities. These are prisons inside of prisons. And and once you're in there, it's almost impossible to get out because no one even really knows you're in. I mean, I don't even really believe that at that point you're even getting any contact with any kind of a legal representation or anything like this. So I think, once you get nabbed for whatever reason and you're in the system, then it's pretty hard to get out. So what is going to happen with your compadre here? So is there a way for, what's going to happen? Is there a way to get him out, or
Well, I mean, we got a call with Amnesty International Mexico tomorrow. We have a mutual friend in Mexico City, who's a human rights attorney. X would have to give her, retain her, have her come on board. I don't know exactly what she can do from Mexico at this point, but there's got to be a mass media awareness campaign to kind of highlight this and maybe, I don't know, shame the U.S. into looking like complete psychotic maniacal ghouls who would snag an old man from a retirement cabin in Mexico and have him go do 17 years on a 10-year-old DDoS charge that they'll never be able to prove. How are you going to figure out who did the DDoS attack in 2011 in 2021 when there's no hard drives, there's no evidence, it doesn't exist?
Well, I don't know, man. If they can do that, I mean, I'm sure they can figure out what happened with that election the other month or two ago, or whatever, 6 months ago. But yeah, go ahead.
So this guy, what I'm curious of is why they are taking the risk. I'm glad they are. Of bringing him over here stateside, and he was lucky he didn't get extraordinary renditions sent over to some other East European black site or something. But why on earth? What I'm he wasn't convicted, or was he? Was he? He's just
No.
he was just charged, right? And he went to
Right.
Mexico. He had
Well,
asylum
okay,
there.
so let's tell the full story then.
Yeah.
Because he absconded on a, I think, sleeping illegally outdoors charge. The DDoS charge came after, because there were several thousand people that were involved. So X said, "Oh yeah, no, that was me. I did it. I did it all. I did." And it sort of launched his career as a known quantity, but that known quantity was Commander X. There were a number of high profile hacks from Anonymous that X has written about. He's got 3 books out. A documentary about all of this called The Face of Anonymous came out last week. He spent the better part of a decade eluding the federal government, went up to Canada, and then quite literally hitchhiked, rode a bike, and caught rides from Canada and walked into Mexico in 2019, where he applied for and was granted refugee status pending asylum.
So do you think this book is what motivated them to act?
You know, it's really hard to say because again, it's not just X. It's Barrett Brown, it's Emmy Best, it's Marty G, and that list is going to grow, I think, of people that sort of got away with it back when Biden was vice president. He announced war anew on cyber criminals just last month. Kamala Harris was in Mexico on Friday, the day that he got kidnapped. We have precedent of asylum agreements being violated when the U.S. exerts coercive force, either through threats or through bribes. They gave Ecuador a $4.2 billion IMF loan to wet their whistle to get them to give up Julian Assange. So asylum doesn't mean a damn thing unless you can enforce it. Otherwise, it's just, I don't know, piece of paper. So that's what we're trying to draw attention to, because even though we all know how the government operates, there's still a lot of people, hundreds of millions of them out there, who have some sort of idealistic notion about rule of law and things like that. So highlighting that, we really do live in a society where there's laws for everyone but the people in charge, kind of help galvanize people. And we can tie this into political prisoners everywhere. We can tie it. Originally, they told them they were picking them up for a failure to appear. This is exactly what we were talking about before the show, where statute of limitations is gone because of the Patriot Act. People are getting, you can go to jail on a 10, 12, 15-year-old warrant. That a failure to appear, at least in his case, was a misdemeanor warrant. And that's what they're using as the excuse for his original extradition.
Well, let me just say, man, old Jimmy's got some experience in this failure to appear area. Because a long time ago,
yes, you do.
A long time ago, I failed to appear, and the judge didn't think that was very cool. So what he did was, even though it was just a failure to appear, he slapped a no-bail warrant on my ass. Okay, and they put chains around my waist and around my ankles, and they ran me around to every single failure to appear that I ever had on my record for my whole life. So I spent a lot of time, and people knew where I was, but it very well could have been a situation like his where you wouldn't have known where I was, because I got moved around so many. I was in this, I was there, I was here, I was there, I was another place, and then I ended up in the San Francisco City Jail on 3rd Street. And that was, an intense moment. Maybe someday we'll talk about those kind of stories on here. But in the meantime, we want to get people that don't belong in there out. And so, Amnesty International, that's a good one. There may be some sort of pro bono Mexican attorney keeps sending me emails telling me that he needs me to get in touch with him because my relative died and left $13 million, and he has the same name as me. And it's funny because my email is not my name. So I was like, what's my name, baby? What's my name? He doesn't know my name. But anyway, so maybe there's somebody that can help you because, Mexico is not America as far as the legal system goes. It's quite different. So, yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's, we're less than a week into it. We've been scrambling. There's about a half a dozen people that haven't slept really well since Friday. And I'm one of them. It's been, just a lot of scrambling and a lot of reaching out to people that I didn't necessarily think I would be talking to, but it's the nature of the work, and we're gonna fight tooth and nail the whole way, no matter what happens. So, I mean, that's a dude who's he's a polarizing figure. A lot of people have a lot of feelings about him, but once you're a kidnap and extortion victim, essentially, it becomes more about the process and why and the abuses of process. So that's what we're highlighting.
So Tender Lungs in the chat is saying that misdemeanor. Hang on a second. Saying that misdemeanor warrants have a 2-year statute of limitations. They can renew them, but usually don't, and then can probably loophole for a week. He needs to request his court documents for the case. And Tender Lungs said that Tender Lungs won their own case. But now, so am I understanding this right? He's in Mexico, right?
He was. He's in.
You brought him up here.
He's in Alameda County right now.
Oh, he's in Alameda County?
Yeah, he's at the Santa Rita jail.
Well, why don't you get about 1,000 people up there in front of the jail with some signs and yell and scream?
We're working with Keith McHenry to have a day or 3 of action.
Yeah, man, just don't wear any of those rainbow afro wigs. Because if you do, they won't take you serious. You know what I mean? Just make sure there's no rainbow afro wigs in the crowd. Do it later. You remember that's what they did when they did the protesting against the Iraq War. They didn't show any of the actual millions of people in the streets. They just showed the stragglers at the end, and it was like the one dude with the rainbow afro.
Yep.
And the chick with a pussy hat or something. It's insane, ladies and gentlemen. It's insane. It's crazy.
That would be funny.
I get no respect. Seriously. So, Evan Journeyman, what's on your radar, man? Do you see any current events? I mean, are you?
Well, it kind of ties this all together. I mean, so the focus on cyber warfare, cyber terrorism, and how that's been pushed extraordinarily hard on all the normal news outlets. So leading up to this, going to the G7, going to the meeting with Putin today, the summit, and the takeaway, post summit with Putin is talking still about cyber terrorism and cracking down on cyber criminals, which ties directly into the unfortunate experience with X there. So I'm reading some of the stuff that Steve sent us, this one article in particular, talking about the 4 pillars they're going to use. And one of the principal tools is this Christchurch call to action, which is to eliminate terrorist and violent extremist content online. Well, people, it's because of the shooting down there originally, right? And they don't want people to be radicalized by this online content, which was, he live streamed that on 8kun, if you recall. Or 8chan, actually, it was 8chan, right? So the thing is, the see something, say something approach of people, snitching on their friends, basically, as part of this campaign to get people in the mindset of being used to that. It's like the movie Brazil. If you've ever seen the movie Brazil, the posters in that movie, don't suspect a friend, report them, all that stuff. Those the actual propaganda campaign, the PSYOP war, basically on our way of thinking, to make everybody start to think that it's okay to Fourth Amendment, that doesn't mean anything, or First Amendment, that doesn't mean anything. We gotta be safe. What about the kids? But well, the kids will be just fine if you let them have their First Amendment and their Fourth Amendment and all other protections they're supposed to have. Yeah, it's going into a world of pre-crime. Totally going into the world of pre-crime.
It is. I mean, and here's the thing. You know, the thing about it is, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to run. You know, there's absolutely nothing you can do about the way that things are, as far as the technology goes. I mean, you know, you can go spray paint that camera over there, but the thing people don't realize is all these private camera networks. Every single time somebody puts a camera into their house, it's one of these concentric circles that we've been talking about over and over again. Every house is a concentric circle with a footprint, and it is leading into the next circle and expanding the footprint of that network. And this is going on across the plane, man, everywhere. And I mean, the possibilities now. We were talking a little bit about the Kev Baker show today, and what I put forward on the show was, well, let's just say if I can charge my cell phone wirelessly, okay, and they're selling that to me, then that lets me know that they pretty much know how to send electricity wirelessly from point A to point B. So we know that that's a fact, Jack. And they wouldn't be letting you get your cell phone charge on unless that's already been tested and they know it's fucking frontwards and backwards that it works. So now, with that idea in mind, let's take a dead sensor that has nothing. It looks like a piece of styrofoam. It's in packaging. It comes from China. It's a dead piece of fire. It looks like nothing, piece of styrofoam. Well, until it gets within the range of a transmitter that's in some other device, like, say, a TV, for example, a smart TV. Let's say, there's some chips in there that piggybacked on the motherboard of that TV. They chipped in on the cost to get their chips on the motherboard, and those chips are sending out power signals to these devices that then activate them. So let's just say corporate espionage. This is a perfect weapon for corporate espionage, is it not? Energizing devices that are dead until they come within the zone of their, just like nanoparticles being powered, or nanomachines being powered by saline. And so when you ingest them into your system and they come in contact with saline in your body, whoa, they got gasoline. All of a sudden these nanomachines start self-replicating all over inside of you, and then they call it Morgellons, when it's coming out of you, that kind of thing. You know
what's interesting is I read an article in Scientific American back in 1991, and I was always paying attention to this stuff. And they were talking about the use of motes. This before they called them nanoparticles, before they called them, smart dust or machines, nanomachines, or anything like that. Just called them motes. And the idea was there's these really simple sensors that are passive sensors until they get in the range of something. Right? They sit idle until they detect something. So once they detect something, they start transmitting the data. Right? So they're going to use them. They're actually going to map every plant on Earth. That was the idea. Every tree, every national park, everything. It was just going to be passive. But they could also use them like a camera trap to start tracking animals. That was one of the excuses they used. Well, it'd be great to see the deer population is faring up in the Pacific Northwest. We'll put these things out there. It's going to be great. And I think this is 1991 now we're talking about. They were talking about it seriously in scientific articles and journals back then. It's been 30 years. It's out. It's here. It's been here, right? So, yeah, what you're describing there is absolutely not just possible, but very probable.
Yeah, I mean, then you take a look at a company this is a regular company. There's nothing nefarious about it, but it's called OSI Soft. It's located in San Leandro, California. They're the biggest maker of sensors for refineries, every kind of sensor that there is, they make. And I think, in the year 2021, some of the technology that's maybe not as sexy as some of the other stuff that people talk about, it did. But the thing is that that's what's so nefarious about it, is that it's just flying under the radar. Like I say, it's just a piece of styrofoam. Okay, until it comes within the field. Just imagine a Bluetooth unit. Just imagine any new device that you buy, and if it's got a Bluetooth connection or a Bluetooth output, then anywhere in your house where there's a Bluetooth connection, you can get a Bluetooth network going with that device. And it can happen without you even knowing it. I mean, maybe it'll say, oh, you know, do you want to let the Bluetooth network go ahead? But maybe it doesn't. You know what I mean? How do you know? Nobody.
Well, I have a friend named Sean O'Brien who's a cybersecurity expert and lecturer. Works on a number of like free and open source projects, and he said Bluetooth is always on, no matter what, always emitting at least a low frequency pulse. So it's a permanent locator and permanently talking to other whatever picks up Bluetooth around it.
Mr. Jones says his daughter's insulin pump is on Bluetooth. You know, and that's interesting because Bluetooth is a way that people can get you too. Like when they're coming at you on your regular machine, your regular computer, they turn on your Bluetooth and they set up some weird little proxy, make-believe proxy network that you're on. And then every single keystroke that you do goes right over to their machine. You know, and the thing is, have you ever noticed when you took a picture with a device, like say an iPad or an iPhone, an Apple device, have you ever noticed that when you take that picture, your GPS locator goes off in the corner? The little triangle pops up? Because every single time you take a picture, they take a stamp of your GPS location and your time and day and your coordinates. And so, because then later on, that's the metadata in the photograph. So later on, if they use that as evidence, so there's ways that they can do that where you can take a picture, you can take film of someone and get the GPS location, and then they just go, they do work on it later. They just deep fake it, but they got the metadata. You're busted. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Even if you're standing there with your clothes on, Steve, they could walk up to you and go, Steve, man, please, my daughter's here. So you shouldn't be naked like that. And you're like, what? You know? And the guy goes, no, it's okay. You know, we'll just leave, Steve. It's okay. You don't have to put your clothes back on. You're like, what? And then all of a sudden, boom, here's this video. You know what I mean? It's just that simple. And, you know, I had a whistleblower tell me that at the Contact in the Desert, that somebody did that to him from Las Vegas because he was a poker player and he won a lot of money, and they told him don't come back, and he kept coming back anyway. So the house was vacant next door. Somebody moved in. They started hitting him with RF, so he left to go on a tour of hot tubs, hot springs, and he was off in the middle of nowhere. And this guy comes up with his 2 kids, and he wasn't naked, and there was a sign said clothing optional above his head. He wasn't even naked, Steve. And the guy goes, no, that's okay. You can, you know, it's okay. You can leave your clothes off. You know, as the kids jump in the pool next to him and they're, you know, splashing and playing. Meanwhile, the guy's taking video the whole time. So this guy got gang stalked by some people because he was a heavy poker player down in Vegas. They told him not to come back. So if they tell you not to come back, don't come back, man. Just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Rounders.
Especially if it's Vegas.
Especially. So it's into the microcosm. It's Steve Pecoinen, Slow News Day. It's 11 o'clock on the Pacific West Coast. They're chopping trees down like it's tree season up in here. I never seen, I mean, there's oaks that are going down in my neighborhood right now. It's just literally unbelievable. It's literally just blowing my mind. The other day they took down this redwood that was right on the corner of where I live. I'd go by it every day. The thing was like literally 100 feet tall. That's a 10-story building, just in case people don't know. You know what I mean? And they just came up and cut it, you know. And I was going by there, Steve, and Epic, and everyone that we're talking to. I was going by there after it was done, and there's all this shit laying on the ground, pieces of wood, and the stump was still there, and, you know, and it was in the ground still. You know, they haven't derooted it or taken it out. But it was so sad to me to see it there, and it was cut. And there was all this sap coming up out of the tree into that cut area. There's all these little pools of sap. There's just, I couldn't believe it, man. You know, it's like it was, you know, yesterday it was a living, breathing giant tree, and now it's still pumping its blood up to the tree, but the tree's not there anymore. It's fucking sad, man. You know?
But it's a redwood, which means there's like hundreds or thousands more redwoods under the ground already, and they multiply when you cut them down.
I'm sure they do, but you know, I lived in the canopy for 10 years at the toll house, and I live right
Yeah.
in there. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'd see them fall. I see them grow, and I was there for a decade. So what I'm gonna tell you is, I saw one for a decade how it grew. Let me just say, for them to get that big, they're probably a lot older than people think they are. I just go there because I would tell you what, man. Um, I mean, you know, they don't grow that. They don't grow that. There's not that much sun, you see, in the redwood.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I mean, that's why there's like canopy level ecosystems in old ass rainforests. It
Yeah.
used to be, you know, like prominent canopy level ecosystems where you would have a like a redwood treetop fall off, and then an oak seed or a maple seed or something would get dropped on that, and it would eventually grow. There would be another tree growing up out of the top of it, but all throughout the canopy can still collect detritus, what basically forms a growing medium. All kinds of shit can live up there, and you could, you know, theoretically at one point nearly get from the bottom of Brazil up through Canada in a canopy if you wanted to.
Well, I used to
Wind
know.
around a lot, but
I used to know some cats up here in the mountains, and they used to grow their. They used to do their grow before cannabis was legal, and before it was.
oh
me-
yeah, the
before,
treetop grows.
Yeah, they used to grow in the trees, man.
Fuck yeah. I know a handful of people that hoisted a pot or two up
Yeah.
there. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. And so, but now what the thing is now up here in the mountains, ladies and gentlemen, you can't get a building permit to save your life. And it used to be you could just go up in Boulder Creek and up in the mountains there and in the redwoods and just build yourself something. And nobody'd know. And then, you know, no one's going up there. Believe me, they don't. You go up there, you're gonna get shot or whatever. You know, you're not going. People are growing weed up there. You don't go wandering around up in the Boulder Creek. So there was never any inspectors going up there to red tag shit. You could just like build something and get away with it. And people did for a long time until
Okay.
drones came in. Now what they do is they take a picture and then they fly by again, and if it's different and they see something built, they know it's there. They don't even have to do nothing. They know you built something. Now they just go after you legally. You know, they don't have to come up there. The only ones coming up there is the sheriff saying, "Hey man, your 90 days is up. GTFO, dude, you out of here. You know, where's our taxes? You know, for that extra house. You know, tear it down.
Right.
What did they tell you when you guys red tag? They say tear it down or get out.
Or pay to have it permitted.
You know what? The one thing you can build.
And
No.
then pay the fines for having an unpermitted structure.
Do you know the one?
Go ahead.
Do you know the one thing you can build anywhere, any state, any county, any country that you don't need a permit?
I do. We talked about it before.
Steve,
Go ahead.
a boat.
You can build a boat.
Yeah, you can build a boat anywhere and you don't get inspected. Now hear me out. Do you remember that boat that Noah built? The Ark?
Oh sure.
Okay, what if you built yourself an Ark, man? It's a boat. It wouldn't be inspected, but think of that, the way that would be like as a house. That would be dope. You could go up on the deck. You know, inside it'd be all wood plank. You know what I mean? And
400 feet long, yeah.
man, you could just live. You could be living large in the Ark, man. And then if something did happen, you float away, man, laughing.
Right. No, I liked it so much I bought it by the cubit.
You know,
Right.
do you know
I
there's
run on gopher wood in my neighborhood.
do you know
Right?
did you know there's a difference between the cubit and the sacred cubit, and that measurement makes a difference?
I'm sure it does.
What is that? Like the Troy ounce? Like, how did that come about in the first place?
I don't know. You tell me. Because
I'm wondering, yeah, about that.
Well, listen, speaking of the Troy ounce, this is the Troy ounce of truth. Aftermath.fm, and we're here with Steve. He's got a show on Sundays immediately following the Wake and Bake with Rock and Rio and myself. Steve comes on and shakes it up a bit, and you know, every Sunday at 11 Pacific, and there's the Epic Journeyman over there, and you guys, we're going to open up the phones in a little bit. What time is it? Oh, it's only 11:10. We got plenty of time. So back to what we were saying now. So these trees, you know, I think there's a big problem with cutting down trees. I mean, I think they shouldn't be doing it, and I think that, you know, if you need a permit to build a shack on your back 40, well then you should need a permit to cut these trees down, and you better have a good fucking reason.
I mean, you kind of have to, especially if you're cutting a redwood, at least up here. You can't just go even if you're in the middle of nowhere on some cutty road, like you still have to very, very selectively, you know, prune your forest. But it's also what keeps a forest healthy. The program that California instituted 30 years ago, that just got it so where everywhere is kindling, like super dry, ready to go up, overgrown, not taken care of whatsoever, forest fire fuel. That's not what you should do. It's not what you should do. It's okay to like take trees out. It is, but you can't just be reckless about it. You can't go like full Onceler. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll give you guys a piece. Break you off a chunk of some of a story that would benefit everybody that hears it. Okay? Because it's a plan. A man without a plan is like a ship without a course. And this dude I'm about to tell you about had a plan. Okay, he moved up here into the redwoods, and he bought this house on Highway 9, which is it's a highway that goes through here. It's a windy road. People ride motorcycles on it. You typically don't want to live next to it because it's louder than shit. I mean, I'm telling you, Harley's going by constantly every day. I lived on Highway 9, so I know. And this guy lived up the road from me. So here's what he did. He bought this crappy house for almost nothing, like 100 and something, right on Highway 9. Then, you ready for this? He cuts some trees down off that property, some redwoods. He builds a mill in his driveway. He mills all the redwood and puts it into a Conex box. Okay? Ships the Conex box to his acre that he bought over in Hawaii. Okay? Sells the house for more money than he bought it for. And bones out to Hawaii and builds his house out of redwood. On the acre that he owns outright. So, man, that's what you call an exit plan. When you want to exit stage left, you got to be thinking on your feet, man. You know? That's how you do it right there. See? But anyway, that's our little...
The property that I'm going to move up to has a bunch of felled redwood and a bunch of felled oak, and it is all still beautiful and millable.
Yeah, I mean, those kind of skills are getting lost, you know? The skills that are actually required for you to survive in the times gone by. You know, knowing how, I mean, do people, like when you're building a house, and one time I was up in Oregon taking care of a sick boy. My girlfriend's brother was sick, and so we went up to give him a hand. And so her dad goes, "Yeah, well, tell you what, man, you want to help me?" And I go, "Sure." And he goes, "Well, I got these poles back here, got to be peeled." So I'm like, "What?" I was on the city boy and shit. I'm just up there trying to do the right thing, So he said, "Oh, give me a hand. You need something?" "Yeah, I need these poles peeled." So, ladies and gentlemen, when you build a log house or you use logs, what you have to do is you got to take this thing. It looks like a scraper. And it's like 4 feet long. And you got to scrape the bark off those trees. You know, you got to scrape it off those, off those. And let me just say,
like you're shaving it.
Yeah, let me just say, it's no easy task for no city boys.
You gotta keep like an even amount of pressure, and oh yeah, dude, it's when I've made like custom planter boxes. Where you'll use mill slash. Like you build a regular planter box, but then decorative, you can come through with mill slash, and it looks beautiful. But you still have to peel it too, or you should. You should want to peel it. And oh man,
I've seen a bunch of these videos on YouTube of single females in the jungle, with nothing more than a axe-like shovel thing. And literally carve out a home out of the dirt, and and weave like bamboo stuff together. Just build this whole structure and a house all by herself.
Fuck yeah!
And she can live in it. So like at the point that you can do that, right? At the point that you've gotten your shelter handled and you've gotten your food handled, at that point, when you turn it into a system, where a permaculture system, where you're growing fruits, you're growing nuts, you're growing berries, you've got all the, you got some aquaponics going, man. You got a few chickens, you know what I mean? So now your food's cool, you got your thing, and if people just wander, you just wander out into the jungle, anywhere in the jungle, and just bust yourself out of a house. How are those people primitive, and how do we have it better than them? In other words, once you got a house and you got a way to eat, well, what the fuck else do you need to do for the rest of your life except
hump
or do something?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, isn't that the point of evolution? When you've got your needs met, that's when you got enough time to sit around and think about what might be best for humanity. And that's where you make these jumps, don't you think? So you make a jump because now your needs are met, and you don't spend 95% of your time worrying about meeting your needs. Now you only spend about 20% of your time, and you got 70% of the rest of your time to do other shit like help people, or what I mean. I'm just saying, it's just a decision that we make,
Well, I mean, large scale farming, agriculture, going from that like hunter-gatherer or like hunter-gardener type approach that humans had for the first 90,000 years or so of human civilization to, large-scale fixed location agriculture, where then the food got locked up at the end of harvest and doled out based on whatever criteria at the time. Like that began the shift. And then when you've got fixed location agriculture and you've got people with leisure time, they're going to make more people, which means you now have to move where you put your waste. You may have to plant more. You're definitely going to have to plant more. If you have livestock, you're going to have to get more of those. You're going to have to expand the territory where they graze. And you know what happens after that, Jimmy? You run into your neighbors who may not appreciate the fact that you are expanding in territory, and they may want to say something about that, or they may want to do something about that. And then you're in conflict over land. It's now a land dispute. And fast forward, here we are.
Well, that's the thing is that we've been, people want more than they need. And once you get more than you need, then you got an issue. In other words, how much do you need? You only need that much. You don't need more than you need, right? Once your needs are met, how much more do you need? Well, I need some more land. I need my property to be bigger. Okay.
So I can store all that stuff I'm not using.
Yeah, I mean, I just need to own it. I'm not going to do anything with it, but I just need to own it. I need to, make sure it's mine. You have to have
love that bit.
You got to belong. It has to belong to you. You can't just exist and everybody enjoy it. Everybody. Well, hey man, if you needed a house, there's enough property for you to go ahead and build yourself one. Go ahead. But no, you can't do that, Steve. You can't do that because that's part of that dude's 3 million acre plot that's going there in Texas. You can't put your house there.
Right. Everybody's gonna get shipped to Austin and go be forced to commute to Nebraska every day to work on Bill Gates' fake meat farm. I don't know. I don't know. Warren Buffett's dodging a lot of bullets, though, man. He really is. He gets to skate on all of the blame because he's the third trustee for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That's his name that's included on those millions of acres of farmland. It's Berkshire Hathaway along with BlackRock that is swooping up the single family homes to the tune of up to $500 million per firm per year. This is and Warren Buffett doesn't get any heat, Jimmy. He doesn't. Like, he's the nice, good, kind of quirky because he still has a regular car.
Mm-hmm.
Jedi.
Hey, he's like Lee Iacocca. Next thing you know, he's gonna be riding an electric bike.
Yeah, cocksucker.
It's too much, man. I mean, literally, since the election, I've stayed completely out of the political arena, but just specifically because there is so much nonsense going on. It's absolutely beyond anything palatable as reality.
Oh, man. And guess what, Jibby? It is June 16th of the year before midterm elections, which means we only have a couple more months before these flippin' cretins start launching their permanent campaign cycles again. And then, we'll just have to go and get, books and read them and not interact with anything else if we want to avoid politics, because that shit permeates everything, and we're not even allowed to carry opinions anymore if they can't be defined and crammed into a specific political ideological box.
Well, listen, if you got an opinion, somebody in your family might just go turn you in as a white supremacist. The thing is,
per Joe Biden, get to snitching.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a snitch culture put on by the ex-Stasi people that were hired by the Bush administration. Hey, was when Buffett was dodging bullets, was he as quick as Bush when he dodged that shoe? Man, that shit was funny.
He was grinning in your ear when he did it too. It's hilarious.
He's like,
it's just this little bob, yeah. Afterwards,
he was quick, man.
Like a bee.
Come on. I mean, looking back at that now, though, looking back at when Bush was president compared to when now, that seems like it seems like a 70s comedy or something, man. The shit that he used to, the stuff that used to happen compared to what goes on now. The shit that goes on now is like, hanging offenses, and people just get away with it and keep going. They don't even look back.
Like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. It's dude. Okay, so I just saw this clip before we went on the air, but it was a candidate forum for the New York governor race, and Andrew Yang, that creepy freaking technocrat, said I can send you the whole clip, of his, this was a solution to the mental health crisis, and he's trying to explain why it would probably be necessary to force medicate mentally ill people. And he says, yes, mentally ill people have rights, but you know who else has rights? We do. The people and families of the city, we have the right to walk the street and not fear for our safety because a mentally ill person is going to lash out. And you know what? He's not wrong, but you're not gonna get anywhere saying that. And he certainly, like, the way that he framed it was like forced medical treatment is good, actually, and forced confinement is good, actually. And that was the solution, not like we have a serious massive mental health crisis in the West, I would imagine.
Well,
And it's some shit that like needs to be dealt with in ways that don't involve forced confinement and medical treatment. But here's that fucking like, oh dude, he's so insidious. I can't believe he had people fooled when during his little presidential reign. He came out of the Obama administration. He was a creepy little technocrat back then. We like forgot.
Yeah, well, it's never an end to the ridiculous shit that goes on. And the thing is, man,
Andrew Yang wants to be a cyborg.
That's
Andrew Yang. Since he is a kid, he wants to merge with machine.
Well,
he wants us to merge with machine. He's not even like shy about that.
I support Mr. Chang's freedom to be an android if he wishes so, and then let it be so. I'll wave my wand and make it so. So now he can be that if he wishes.
Yeah,
but,
no, you're missing the point. It's that he wants you to be that too, whether you want to be or not.
Well, all I gotta say to that is he's gonna have to catch me first, man. And I'll tell you what, I know those trees like the back of my hand, and no one ever looks up, buddy. You ever want to go if you're ever the shit hits the fan, ladies and gentlemen?
Snitching out, don't do that.
hey, listen, if the shit ever hits the fan, grab yourself some rope when you leave and make yourself a little place up in the trees, and then you'll sleep peaceful at night. No one will be coming up.
Remember your Boondock Saints, ladies and gentlemen. Charlie Bronson's always got rope.
Well, listen.
Never know he's gonna need it for, but he always needs it.
Well, it's interesting that you should bring that up because you know what's coming up this weekend on the 19th.
Cyber Polygon?
No, it's Juneteenth. It's the Juneteenth celebration.
It started in slave ships.
Slave ships. There are more records of slave ships than one would dream. It seems inconceivable until you reflect that for 200 years ships sailed carrying cargo of slaves.
Be non-violent. In the face of the violence that we've been experiencing for the past 400 years, is actually doing our people a disservice. In fact, it's a crime. It's a crime.
Here come the drums.
It's Optimouth FM.
Here come the drums. They sing your face, not an 8-track, getting it good to the woods. So the people give you some of that reacting to the facts that I kick in a stick. Get a stay around, point to the joint, put the Buddha down. Don't get to the roots and giving it up. So turn and loose. Then again, I got a story that's harder than a hardcore course. Not the Holocaust, I'm talking about the ones still going on. I know where I'm from, that dumb being dumb from the base motherland. The place of the drum, invaded by the whack, till they whack. It fooled the black, it left us faded. King and Chief probably had a big beef. Because of that, now I grit my teeth. So here's a song to the storm, but the shape of a snake and a smile that went along with that. Get trusted. Get trusted.
Did you know the first man to sue to keep his slaves was black? The first man to sue to keep his slaves was a black man. It wasn't even a white guy. It's interesting, that is used quite a bit as a reference point or a tool to inflame both sides of the argument. And one of my heroes and one of the people that I look up to, in the past is Malcolm X. And, X, I think, was an important figure in Public Enemy. When they originally started, they were really having an organic effect in the black community and spreading the word about Malcolm X. And then you saw what happened to Griff. You know, they ran Griff through the "It's the Jews" situation, and I guess he had gotten a book from somebody got some Farrakhan material, and they were reading this book on the bus. Everybody's passing these books around, and so that was one of those moments where he'd been reading that book, you know, and then somebody, you know, they got off the bus and went to did an interview, and some guy asked him a question, and he just like launched into this diatribe about the media and about movies and all this stuff, and it was deemed to be anti-Semitic.
Shout out to the professor.
Yeah.
Man, he's got a podcast.
I know, he's a good dude, man. And you know, the thing is he got real.
Griff's hysterical, dude. He's you know, he's Griff.
He is.
He is, man. That's not an argument I'm gonna make anyway.
But you know,
no, I got nothing but love for Griff.
Yeah.
I do. Come on the show.
And the point is too about Griff is that he you know, the thing was is that what they wanted to do, what they needed to do as far as hip hop was concerned, was they saw that this was taking off and it was popular. So they get Rick Rubin's in there, they get people in there, they get everything, they get the money machine rolling around it, and then they take the what they put together organically, and they turn it into Bitches and Hoes, and they start selling NWA records down with Dr. Dre up in Compton.
Studio Gangster.
Yeah, and that was all that was all cocaine money, wasn't it? Wasn't that whole Ricky Ross situation, and the coke and the Compton and the city of Compton?
Yeah, it definitely played a part of it. There's also like the influence that the Nation of Islam had on East Coast hip hop, and the influence that like even BAM's like Zulu Nation and all that shit, as fucked up, and I don't know, because I wasn't there. I don't know, but if that shit about BAM is real, then there's a lot of people that got a lot of explaining to do, including KRS-One. But the crass, agenda-driven, over-commercialized, over-produced gangster rap.
Dude, I did a whole show.
Studio gangster shit. That pushed all of the Nation of Islam influence out of hip hop. It pushed all of that like real community influence out of hip hop. All of the organizers that were also part of the hip hop scene, especially in the Bronx, all of them got shoved by the wayside. And it was fucking bitches and hoes, and let's go shoot each other and get that money. And fuck you, I'm gonna get my money. Fuck you, let me get my money. Fuck, dude, yeah. For what now? Almost 30 years? No, a little bit more, because Straight Outta Compton was 89, right?
Well, you know, it's a touchy subject, man. You know, and the thing about it is that you know, the thing is that, you know, a lot of that doesn't represent the black community, just like a lot of what goes on in other genres of music doesn't represent the rest of the community that those people are the same color as. But for some reason, the stereotype of this is like the stereotype of a gangster. If you're Italian, you're in the mafia. You know, if you're black, you're gangbanging or you're ciphering, whatever. You know what I mean? So the thing is that, but that's not really the case. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other people that are out there just working and doing their thing. You know, they're not trying to, you know, represent the culture that's represented. That is social engineering, man. I mean, that you know, that has been social engineering from day one, and that's the whole thing, is that the social engineering was happening organically over there with Public Enemy. They were socially engineering the black community because it said, there's a documentary where they said we were putting up posters and it said X on it, and this kid came up to us and said, "Who's 10, man? Who's 10?" You know, because it was an X, and he didn't even know who Malcolm X was. It was a young black dude or whatever. He didn't even know who Malcolm X was, and that was in that moment that, you know, they realized that they wanted to, you know, be more, you know, political, and that was what was happening. And I think that was, you know, the direct torpedo against Griff to hijack it over back into the system, you know, and get, you know, I mean, look at the when you look at the white acts that came out, you look at Beastie Boys, and you look at, you know, who was it? Rick Rubin. What was he using? Zeppelin. You know what I mean? He's taking the hook from a Zeppelin song that you've been already psycho driven with.
Yeah, that was so far away from what the Beastie Boys did too.
Mm-hmm.
They were a shitty punk band.
Yeah.
They like hung out with Bad Brains. That's who they were before Rick Rubin, and before oh god, that was Def Jam, right?
Yeah.
The record label.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, look, the bottom line is that there's a whole Death Row. There's a whole Epic Journeyman. There's a whole black history that most white people are not even aware of. That's the thing, because in school, no one's taught black history. But, you know, there's a lot of historic moments. There's a lot of historic black people figures, you know, that have made massive contributions to the world. And you know, but the thing is that you know, when you put this social engineering mechanism over the top of it, and you turn it into this thing where it creates a stereotype, and the stereotype then eventually feeds on itself because it becomes an icon, or it becomes an archetype that gets identified with by young people who then try to imitate what they're seeing. So it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. It never ends, and you just keep it rolling, Epic Journeyman. So
do you think it's the new hippie? Like the hippie was supposed to be something that ended up being taken a better level by the actual hippies, right? And then the Manson operation turned them as the dirty hippies, violent or whatever, and they used that for a long time. But still, they weren't they didn't play the game basically that they were set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from an engineering standpoint, social engineering standpoint. But when you look at the advent of hip hop and gangster rap, they automatically have a built-in bias, right? Yeah, it's these street gangs or horrible people, but it also captures the imagination of the youth, of all the urban white kids, right? They want to rebel, which is what they were trying to do with the hippie movement originally. You know, so it's like it is a replay in a way, but it's more effective because it's making the dividing line more profound, right? The hippie movement, you know, you have people that are older that actually like the music, right? But when you
the thing is,
had the hip hop, it wasn't.
When this whole thing took over, okay, when this whole thing started to make money, it was completely fueled by white kids in the suburbs because, and I'm saying that specifically to a color, those white kids in the suburbs, because it didn't matter what color you were. If you were in a low income family, you weren't spending $20 on those CD, man. You were taping that shit off the radio, man. You know, you were getting a tape from your buddy or whatever. And there wasn't millions of dollars being spent out of low-income urban areas on $20 CDs, man. That was all happening out in in these middle-class white families that got children aspiring to be gangbangers.
I mean, yeah, it's not like you can't sell CDs in a city, man. That's a little bit of a stretch, but
well, I just know I'm just talking.
It was Def Jam, Rick Rubin and Russell Simmons.
I'm talking from experience, man. You know what I mean? Because I grew up with a single mom, so you know I was living in a situation where when I was a kid I couldn't necessarily go out and buy records or whatever.
Oh no, dude! We did the Columbia House shit, where you would just get that and you'd fill out like 80 cards with all of the different addresses, like up and down your street for a couple of blocks, and then a couple of weeks later you would have hundreds of CDs, and then what you didn't like. You know, what your buddy didn't fucking steal from like Sam Goody or whatever. Like there was, you always had CDs. It's just, but yes, you're right in the sense that you're not paying retail for them every single time you go out to get music. No,
they were
a lot of fucking CDs in.
They were marketing that shit in the suburbs, and they were selling $20 CDs like you're going out of style because of the disposable income in those middle class neighborhoods.
Well, yeah, it was the 90s. There was disposable income in middle class neighborhoods.
That's right. That's right. So, but now, you know, here we are generations later, and you know, you're bringing up the Columbia House, and it looks like I just found one of my old Columbia House CDs. Yeah, ooh. I know. It's actually uncanny.
It is uncanny.
It is, and you know what? I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna be worth it. But I'm gonna put it right here. I'm just gonna save it right here, because you know we're gonna get into some Black history, and it just so happens that I have this CD here that just ties in exactly to what we're talking about, and so it's perfect. So I'm gonna play that CD, and it has to do with Black history. And believe it or not,
This better not be David Allan Coe.
You'll never guess who the artist is.
David Allan Coe.
No.
Chuck Berry.
It's 10, man. It's X.
Oh, it's Malcolm.
I got X right here, and X was in the moment. Now, this is evidence of revision coming directly from X. Now, he's standing, giving a talk, right? And this talk is called The House Negro and the Field Negro. Now, I'd ask you that if I was going to play the beginning part of this, I would ask you to take the race out of it, just like, you know, Russell Means said, we're all on a reservation. You know, at this point, anything having to do with slaves, you can pretty much count yourself in. Everybody here, everybody listening, we're all slaves here in America in one form or another, to one master or another. So, and what he's talking about is the difference between middle management and the workers in the field. It's like middle management, if the master's house is going to burn down, they go grab water to put it out because they're living up in that house. But the field worker, he's praying for a wind. That's what Malcolm X says. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, the guy that's living in the house says, where can I find a better house than this? Where can I eat better food than this? You know, and it's the same thing you see right now with these middle managers. It's the same exact thing what we're talking about earlier with the snitches. It's the same thing. Those are the house managers. And most of us, and Malcolm said he was a field worker. Okay, most of us are field workers. But there's a lot of house managers around, and they kowtow to the man, do whatever he says. Because that's where their money's coming from. See, they're living high off the hog. See, if you're in the field, you're living low off the hog, man. You're eating those guts. Your gut. That's what Malcolm X says. I'm paraphrasing so we don't, because it's 23 minutes long. And I want to get to the main thing, which is the Black civil rights leaders and the movement that was going on at the time and what was actually happening. And Malcolm is going to break it off for us here. Honestly, in the moment, and you can hear the evidence of revision about what we actually believe now, as opposed to what actually happened. Now I'm pretty sure I'm right in the right area, you guys, but I may have to bounce around a minute just to get it in the right spot. But I'm pretty close, I think. So let me just go ahead. Here comes Malcolm X, Juneteenth coming up on Saturday. Make sure you recognize Juneteenth, and if you don't know what it is, we can tell you in a minute. But go ahead and search it while we're listening to Malcolm X, the House Negro, Field Negro, and a true assessment of the Black Civil Rights Movement and the leaders, and what happened exactly, and who was involved, and how much money was paid. Oh, he goes into all of it. It might be uncomfortable for you if you have heroes. Your heroes may have a little tarnish on them that you didn't realize at the end of what Malcolm has to let you know about right now.
To a big rally and raise about, I don't know how many thousands of dollars.
Stand by.
Called national stature.
Stand by.
Use Tom to control them.
The same strategy that was used in those days is used today by the same white man. He take a Negro, so-called Negro, and make him prominent, build him up, publicize him, make him a celebrity, and then he becomes a spokesman for Negroes and a Negro leader. I would like to just mention one thing else quickly, and that is the method that the white man uses, how the white man uses these big guns or Negro leaders against the black revolution. They're not a part of the black revolution. They're used against the black revolution. When Martin Luther King failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia, the civil rights struggle in America reached its low point. King became bankrupt almost as a leader. Plus, even financially, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference was in financial trouble, plus it was in trouble, period, with the people when they failed to desegregate Albany, Georgia. Other Negro civil rights leaders of so-called national stature became fallen idols. As they became fallen idols, began to lose their prestige and influence, local Negro leaders began to stir up the masses. In Cambridge, Maryland, Gloria Richardson. In Danville, Virginia, and other parts of the country, local leaders began to stir up our people at the grassroots level. This was never done by these Negroes whom you recognize of national stature. They controlled you, but they never incited you or excited you. They controlled you. They contained you. They kept you on the plantation. As soon as King failed in Birmingham, Negroes took to the streets. King got out and went out to California to a big rally and raised about, I don't know how many thousands of dollars. Come to Detroit and had a march and raised some more thousands of dollars. And recall, right after that, Wilkins attacked King, accused King and the Corps of starting trouble everywhere and then making the NAACP get him out of jail and spend a lot of money, and then he accused King and Corps of raising all the money and not paying it back. This happened. I got it in documented evidence in the newspaper. Roy started attacking King, and King started attacking Roy, and Farmer started attacking both of them. And as these Negroes of national stature begin to attack each other, they begin to lose their control of the Negro masses. And Negroes was out there in the streets. They was talking about, we're going to march on Washington. By the way, and right at that time, Birmingham had exploded, and the Negroes in Birmingham, remember, they also exploded. They began to stab the crackers in the back and bust them upside the head. Yes, they did. That's when Kennedy sent in the troops down in Birmingham. So, and right after that, Kennedy got on the television and said, this is a moral issue. That's when he said he's going to put out a civil rights bill. And when he mentioned civil rights bill and the Southern crackers started talking about they were going to boycott it or filibuster it, then the Negroes started talking about what? We're going to march on Washington, march on the Senate, march on the White House, march on the Congress, and tie it up, bring it to a halt. Don't let the government proceed. They even said they was going to go out to the airport and lay down on the runway and don't let no airplanes land. I'm telling you what they said. That was revolution. That was revolution. That was the black revolution. It was the grassroots out there in the street. Scared the white man to death. Scared the white power structure in Washington, D.C. to death. I was there. When they found out that this black steamroller was going to come down on the Capitol, they called in Wilkins. They called in Randolph. They called in these national Negro leaders that you respect and told them, call it off. Kennedy said, look, you all letting this thing go too far. And old Tom said, boss, I can't stop it because I didn't start it. I'm telling you what they said. They said, I'm not even in it. much less at the head of it. They said these Negroes are doing things on their own. They're running ahead of us. And that old shrewd fox, he said, well, if you all aren't in it, I'll put you in it. I'll put you at the head of it. I'll endorse it. I'll welcome it. I'll help it. I'll join it. A matter of hours went by. They had a meeting at the Carlisle Hotel in New York City. The Carlisle Hotel is owned by the Kennedy family. That's the hotel Kennedy spent the night at 2 nights ago. Belongs to his family. A philanthropic society headed by a white man named Stephen Currier called all the top civil rights leaders together at the Carlisle Hotel and told them that by you all fighting each other, you're destroying the civil rights movement. And since you're fighting over money from white liberals, let us set up what's known as the Council for United Civil Rights Leadership. Let's form this council, and all the civil rights organizations will belong to it. And we'll use it for fundraising purposes. Let me show you how tricky the white man is. And as soon as they got it formed, they elected Whitney Young as the chairman. And who you think became the co-chairman? Stephen Currier, the white man. A millionaire. Powell was talking about it down at the Cobo today. This is what he was talking about. Powell knows it happened. Randolph knows it happened. Wilkins knows it happened. King knows it happened. Every one of that so-called Big Six, they know what happened. Once they formed it with the white man over it, he promised them and gave them $800,000 to split up between the Big Six, and told them that after the march was over, they'd give them $700,000 more. $1.5 million split up between leaders that you've been following, going to jail for, crying crocodile tears for, and they've nothing but Frank James and Jesse James and brothers. Soon as they got the setup organized, the white man made available to them top public relations experts. Opened the news media across the country at their disposal. And then they began to project these Big Six as the leaders of the march. Originally, they weren't even in the march. You was talking this march talk on Hastings Street. Is Hastings Street still here? On Hastings Street. You was talking the march talk on Lenox Avenue. And down on, Fillmore Street, and Central Avenue, and 42nd Street, and 63rd Street. That's where the march talk was being talked. But the white man put the Big Six ahead of it, made them the march. They became the march. They took it over. And the first move they made after they took it over, they invited Walter Reuther, a white man. They invited a priest, a rabbi, and an old white preacher. Yes, an old white preacher. The same white element that put Kennedy in power labored, the Catholics, the Jews, and liberal Protestants. Same clique that put Kennedy in power joined the March on Washington. It's just like when you got some coffee that's too black, which means it's too strong. What you do, you integrate it with cream. You make it weak. If you pour too much cream in, you won't even know you ever had coffee. It used to be hot, it becomes cool. It used to be strong, it becomes weak. It used to wake you up, now it'll put you to sleep. This is what they did with the March on Washington.
My name's Jimmy. It's Aftermath.fm.
Time is truly wasted. There's no guarantee. Smile is in the making. We gotta fight the powers that be. Got so many voices saying all the same. Giving up all around me. Faces full of pain. I try to play my music, they say my music's too loud. I try talking about it, I got the big run around. And when I roll with the punches, I got knocked on the ground by all this bullshit going down. Hey, time is truly wasted. There's no guarantee. Smile is in the making. We gotta fight the powers that be. I don't understand it.
626-999-4761. 626-999-4761. We're talking Black history, and I'm going to bring up something else. I'm going to bring up the protest for the Black Panthers in California, where they open carried into the Congress of California in front of Ronald Reagan. That's right. That was your granddaddy's Black Panther movement. That's not the Black Panther movement of 2021, ladies and gentlemen. It's completely different.
All this bullshit going down. Oh, time is truly wasted. There's no guarantee. Smile is in the making. We gotta fight the powers that be. Got it, baby. Even you and I can't.
801, welcome into the microcosm. Who are you? Where are you calling
Hello.
from? Hey, what's going on?
Andy.
Hey, Andy.
Gump.
Hey, what's up, Andy Gump? Good to hear you. What's happening,
Hey,
man?
so I got a question exactly what you're talking about. So what do you guys know about this COINTELPRO thing that happened back then?
Well,
With
we know
the-
quite a bit about it, actually. What do you want to bring up about it? And then we can, Epic Journeyman's here and Steve's here, too.
Well-
Go ahead.
Well, just the basics, because it's kind of something new to me, so you guys would probably be the perfect people to enlighten me.
Epic Journeyman, are you there? You want to explain code?
I'm here. I was just talking to my COINTELPRO agent over here. Yeah.
Okay, so so it's like
it's amazing what they did. I mean, it was a operation to infiltrate all the movements that were basically anti-government movements at the time. They're just
So
civil
then
rights movements.
they just try to disrupt their families and all kinds of personal stuff on a personal level, or
Oh yeah, they
that
framed
is
them
the-
too. They did all kinds of things. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
there's a
Big history about it. Went off
there's a
years.
really really good movie. It's called Make It. It's called Make It Plain. It's a PBS documentary about the life and death of Malcolm X. It's called Make It Plain. If you go see that, you'll find out about a lot of stuff about his life. And one of the things is that his father followed a dude by the name of Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey was a black independent. In other words, they just wanted to have their own thing. Black businesses, everything just, they wanted to keep things segregated. They just wanted to do their own thing. They didn't want nothing from anybody. They just wanted to do their
Yeah.
own thing. And so Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X's father, was a follower of Marcus Garvey. And so Malcolm X was brought up in a super strict house, man. And but his father was a victim of a racial killing that took place because his father was a man. He didn't kowtow down to nobody. This type of thing. But it didn't really fly very well in the town he was living in. So he ended up getting killed. And the thing is that when he got killed, Malcolm X's mother went insane. And she ended up in an insane asylum. And Malcolm X ended up, he went to the city and he got into like the zoot suits and all this, and he got in with some people and they met some white girls, and the white girls were some Jewish girls that lived up in the suburbs, and they knew when people were going on vacation. So Malcolm X and some other dude, they went up there and they took some stuff and they pawned it. And so when Malcolm X went back to go get one of these pieces of jewelry, he got arrested and he got thrown into prison. So that was when he, converted into Muslim in prison because of a family tie that was a Muslim. But the thing was, when he got popular and when he got killed, what happened was that he had gone to the Hajj. He was invited by, I can't remember if it was the prince or somebody specifically invited him to the Hajj. And so he went to it, and when he was there, he had to, everybody has to wear the same clothing no matter who you are and what your stature is in life. If you're rich, you're poor, it doesn't matter. Everybody wears the same thing. And it was like in that moment where he had this realization that, he had been fighting super hard, strictly for black people and against white people for black people. But he realized that in that moment that what he needed to do was fight for all people. So he came back and he split from the Nation of Islam, and then he turned on Farrakhan and started talking about that Farrakhan had a bunch of these 13, 14-year-old little girlfriends and this and that. And not Farrakhan, it was Elijah Muhammad, excuse me. So Elijah Muhammad had these concubines or whatever, these people he was having sex with, and so he brought that out. So when he brought that out, then there was this inference that the reason that he was assassinated was because he brought that stuff out about Elijah Muhammad. But the thing is that just like what happened to his father and what happened to their family earlier when he was a boy, they did the same thing to his house where they blew it up and almost killed his wife and kid. And he still kept going. And the night that he got killed, there was an FBI informant that was completely involved in the whole thing. And it's funny because that FBI informant that's in that movie, I saw that guy in another. It was a sting operation where it was some dude trying to pretend like he was part of the black civil rights movement, and it was the same guy who years later came out and said he was an undercover FBI agent. It was super funny, man. No, man, it was just too much. But anyways, that guy said that he went back to the FBI and because he was in the church where Malcolm was going to speak that day, the day before, and he saw some guys that were he thought that they were casing the place, So he made a report back to his office saying that he thought something looked fishy, that they should take notice, and but then the next day they took him out, and boom, and that was it, and and I don't think I've ever seen another leader really step into the role that that he was portraying at the time.
Oh no, I'm super interested.
But do you think
I don't know a whole lot about Malcolm
I know,
X, but I grew up in a place where
because
nobody's gonna even let you know you.
You know what they did? You know what they did, man?
What's that?
What they did was, because out in the suburbs where everybody's living, like all the white people were living somewhere out there in the suburbs, what they were seeing on the news was that he was a radical, angry black man who hated white people. And so what they did was they used him to scare white people. The thing is what I'm saying is,
where I live, white people are scared,
So don't you think don't you think though, as a people, don't you think we get robbed by going through our school and we never heard of nothing at all about Malcolm X?
Oh yeah, I could go on for a lot longer than you got talking about that, but
so to kind of answer your question about COINTELPRO though. That began in the mid-50s when Hoover was the FBI director. The initial purpose was to disrupt or infiltrate any elements of the Communist Party that was in the U.S. And then they went on to infiltrate everyone from the Klan to the Black Panthers, every conceivable
hippies.
leftist group. It was infiltration. It was undermining. It was mass media psyop from the outside. If there was a particular group, for example, Malcolm X, there would be article after article after article smearing him. There would be, at the top of the news, like Jimmy was saying, unhinged radical, blah, blah, blah. There was another part of COINTELPRO that was harassment through the legal system, lawfare. They would, they would convict activists, or they would convict, anybody in member of a group, based on perjured testimony, based on fabricated evidence, all kinds of shit. And then there was the straight up assassinations. There was the straight up, like kidnappings, body breakings, all that kind of shit, just getting the crap beat out of you. All of those are components of COINTELPRO. In 1971, a group of activists broke into an FBI field house. And the only reason we know about COINTELPRO is because they did this. Broke into the FBI field house and got the documents that proved that COINTELPRO existed. And that's one of the things that led to a call for the church committee hearings.
There's another one too, is Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah.
So Mockingbird, Echo Chamber, COINTELPRO, MK
Yeah, I was
Ultra.
just
all
trying to tie up, I know about, that was one part of the, the puzzle I didn't know a lot about. So I was just trying to tie up that loose end. I know it, psyops, and, it goes with that hand in hand with everything else. So I just, intrigued about it. And I know you guys would know something about it.
Oh, it's because we're old. Not old enough. But, the thing is,
Steve, go speak for yourself, Epic.
Well,
right?
I'm not too older than me, but I grew up in Lily White, Utah, so
okay.
Not me personally, but
the thing is, though, what I always think about when it did lead to the church commission, and that's how I found out about CIA's role in doing MK Ultra and all that stuff as well. It was because of that. But so there are competing philosophies and competing power bases within our own government. And the thing was that J. Edgar Hoover became so powerful. He had files on everybody, like in our own government. Like that guy was running a shadow government on his own. And anybody he didn't like, he took care of, man. He messed with them. And nothing he liked doing better with COINTELPRO than actually pitting people against each other. Like putting disinformation and saying one person, thinked on another guy, turned them in to get those guys, take revenge on those guys. And then basically they go kill each other, make it look like
they did a lot of research for what they're doing now, basically.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But then the CIA's was much more diabolical. I mean, they were, this is we talk about the social engineering side where they're actually messing with people's minds. I mean, literally their minds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you remember?
Right on,
do you remember? Did you know that that Hoover, his biggest fear was the rise of a black messiah?
Yes.
I mean, there's literal. I'm gonna see if I can find the audio of it, because there's audio of him talking about it, and it, and the thing is while I'm bringing that up, I'm also gonna bring up this here, which is the protest in 1967 that the Black Panthers went to the Capitol in California, and they, back then it was open carry in California. The laws changed almost immediately after this happened. But let's see if I can go here. Let's see if we can get some audio on this. Let's go back in history, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about Black history. Juneteenth coming up on Saturday. That's the day of celebration for a lot of folks. May 2nd, 1967. You are there. Looks like there's no audio. Black Panthers are entering into.
I want to observe the symbol.
they're displaying the guns that were brought in. Looks like this video is not very good. It's a visual, and since this is a radio, probably gonna skip that one and see if I can mosey on over here to this one over here. But anyway, so it was a capital invasion, wasn't it? An insurrection, was it? I mean, no one called it an insurrection. But the thing about it is, man, is that people showed up with guns. I mean, what happened up at the Capitol, recently in Washington, D.C., the District of Criminals, there were no guns. But could you imagine if there was? I bet you there'd be dead bodies. But check it out. Nobody got hurt in this protest because it was legal to carry, and the Black Panthers were exercising their rights. Some might say the right to carry is a human right, not just a constitutional right. Yeah, it looks like mostly what these guys are doing here. Let me go to this one. What these guys are doing, they're showing the actual raw footage of the Panthers, but there's no audio. So I think YouTube might have let them put it up there, but they made them mute out parts of the audio wherever there's talking or whatever. They muted it. So but this one here is going to be from NBC News, so I'm pretty sure this one's going to fly. So let us see. No. Hold on.
This is a white system. Isn't it obviously where we...
Hold on. It's Car Crash Radio. My name's Jimmy. I am at the driving wheel of the car crash. Here we go. Hold on a second. I got my shoulder to the wheel. I got my eye to the windshield, man. Don't you worry about a thing. I got you covered. Okay, here comes
driving under the influence.
Here we go. Yeah, under the influence of this information. I'm not breathing the gas. You know what I mean?
Party for Self-Defense calls on the American people in general to take careful note of the racist California legislature. Why do you believe the legislature is racist?
Don't you know? You're a part of it, and you're obviously it's a white system. Isn't it obviously where we at? So.
What do you mean?
We just read the pamphlet and you'll see what we mean.
You say to read your pamphlet. This is the pamphlet that the man presented me with. It's called A Statement of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense on the Mulford Act, now pending before the California legislature. The Mulford Act would control the use of arms, especially loaded weapons, and would prohibit them. These men seem to have loaded weapons with them. The statement seems to indicate that these people feel that the black people have been enslaved throughout most of their lives, that the white society is responsible for this, and then they go on to say the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense believes that the time has come for black people to arm themselves against this terror, the terror of the white people presumably, before it is too late, and the pending Mulford Act brings the hour of doom one step nearer. Do you believe everything that's in that pamphlet?
The pamphlet speaks for itself.
It's Huey Newton, or I think it's Huey Newton that's in there. So yeah, so here they are. Here are Americans. They're going to the Capitol. They're protesting because they don't want their gun rights taken away, and they're painted as angry black militants with guns going to the Capitol. That's not what they were doing.
And Ronald Reagan, Republican governor, said, no, we'll have none of that. And the NRA got with Ronald Reagan to pass restrictive gun laws in California.
What the fuck? Yeah, I guess it's What the Fuck Wednesday.
There you go, man. There you go.
Could you imagine if there was talk radio going on then? Could you imagine what the right would be saying about these Americans that were protesting for their gun rights? They'd be going berserk about it.
Yeah.
And the
You're
thing
up there
is,
with them, man.
yeah, and the thing that's so ironic is that what they should be doing is joining in with them to go make sure that they're
Exactly. The NRA. Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah. Well, you see how this is Black history right here. You never heard about it, did you? This is right at the
No.
this is right at the same time when what was Manson saying was going to happen? He was
There's going to be a race war.
That's right. Why
I mean, that's the same thing. That's why I like asking about the COINTELPRO thing, because it ties into the Manson thing to me, I think.
It does.
Because they're trying to play both off each other in the same psyop.
It does. And
if that makes any sense.
It does. And like I just said, J. Edgar Hoover said he feared a black messiah. And so, Manson was definitely an operator. So, I mean, it would be part of the operation to, infer through that whole project known as the Tate murders, to infer that it had something to do, had a racial quality to it. There was some sort of a white supremacist angle to it, that he was a white supremacist, and he didn't want the black man to revolt, and there was a race war a coming, and Manson got an S on his chest, and he was going to save everybody. And he's going to start. He was going to start up there. He's going to start up there in Laurel Canyon, smoking dope and getting it on with fine actresses up at Polanski's place.
So I think I came to the answer of what I was asking the question for. Actually, that's why I came to you guys for it. 'Cause that's exactly what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, man.
It's all the same shit.
Yeah, man. Well, that's what's good about hashing it out. You throw it out on the table, and then you can strip away the fat and get down to the real meat of the subject, which is, there's a whole bunch of what went on in this world that people just don't have any idea about anymore. And it's like, and if they did, would it make a difference? In other words, like right now, what you see is that the generations who really understand what happened and why it happened in World War II, and what was going on, most of those people are dead and gone, and they experienced the horrors of the communists over in Russia and whatnot, and they were there to tell the tales. But those people have been medicated, and they've been stuffed away in homes.
They never really wanted to talk about it anyway.
No.
You don't want to ask your grandpa about World War II, shit like that. You know what I mean? They didn't really want to talk about it either because, exactly.
Well, overall, we didn't get here by by accident. Every single thing, everything that happens gets us to a certain point. We're all here. We've arrived at this moment, and this is a moment in time where everything that's happened in the past is now coming to bear on us right now in the present. So all the shit that they learned back in the 60s with the mind control, the social engineering, with the psychic driving, all that stuff, with the shaping of the minds of a generation. Well, everything they learned back then with the analog system, they've applied to the digital system. And now, the mind control isn't just going out over the radio and on the TV, but it's everywhere all the time, and specifically designed to you for your perfect experience in the park. You're gonna get everything you're looking for. So if you're looking for shit and you're looking for stuff that you can't, you're looking for stuff that you can't believe. You're looking for more,
that's what I mean.
confirmation that you've been lied to. And that's what you look for. Then every day when you go search for something, you type in 3 letters, and Google's going to show you 9, tasty morsels that'll appeal to your particular fetish for whatever type of information or whatever type, if it's the end of the world or whatever it is, UFOs or comets or Nibiru, whatever it is, Google will serve it up to you, man. But it won't serve you up anything that's over here. That's the same thing. It's our education system's like Google. They only serve you up what they want you to learn, and they don't serve you up the other stuff. This stuff here, the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party. You know what their main thing was in the neighborhoods is these white cops they were killing people, beating people, unmerciful. And I mean, if you go back and you think people are getting beat up now, this shit that happens now ain't shit, man. You go back and look at what was happening in the hood back then. These white cops would come in there, they were beating people with chairs down the street, breaking people's legs. I mean, it was no, and so the Black Panthers said, fuck this, man. We're going to protect our own neighborhood. And so they started marching around with guns. And so the police got pissed. But the thing was, the Black Panthers, they never fired a shot until they heard a piece of canister hit the ground. So if some cop shot somebody or a gun went off on the other side, that's the only time the Black Panthers would shoot. They also instituted a breakfast program where they were feeding kids every day before they went to school. They were doing stuff. They were doing stuff for the community, and they weren't bothering anybody. And the thing is, man, if you got an angry white force out there beating the shit out of you and killing you, then why shouldn't you be able to march around with guns in your own area and protect it? Just like anybody else, man. The thing is, if you ain't got the cojones or the balls to go be a cop in a black neighborhood, then let black people, be the cops in their own neighborhoods. Let them police their own selves, because, white guys from 100 miles away don't know how to deal with an angry black dude who got pissed about something. The only one who knows how to do that is another black dude.
From the neighborhood.
Some skinny dude
from the same neighborhood.
Yeah, some skinny dude from 100 miles away. He's gonna pull his gun and fucking pop a couple caps in somebody's ass. Oh, sorry, I thought it was my taser. It looked just like it. I'm sorry. They made my taser look exactly like my gun. I'm sorry I made that mistake.
Yeah. I've heard that before.
They hear it all the time. Everybody hears it, man. It's not judge, jury, and executioner because you got a tail light out, Jack. You know what I mean?
No. And you telling me...
What's that? I think he fell out. My name's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. It's Aftermath.fm. We're here every Monday through Friday, 10:30 Pacific, right after Clyde Lewis and the boys from Ground Zero. Steve's over here on Sundays at 11 Pacific. And Saturdays, Cristanti Harris and here comes that call. She's calling. Hang on a second. So it's WTF is wrong with people. So there's a caller coming in there. I'm not sure if that's the same caller or not. Is that you? Oh, you that? No, they're not that. So there we go. Juneteenth coming up on Saturday. What are you gonna do, man? You gonna celebrate? Might be good, I mean, do people know what it is? Anybody? Because we haven't talked about it yet. Slaves were freed. Are you guys not? Steve just faded out, man.
No, nobody's gonna jump.
No, here I saw something just happened.
It's Emancipation Day.
Right.
It's when the Emancipation Proclamation.
Have you been
freeing the slaves?
Yes, freeing the slaves. Can you hear me now?
Yes. There's been all of a sudden we've been having these connection issues real quick.
Yeah, I was bleeping in and out. I was trying to.
It started down in Texas and grew mostly observed in the South, but it's become national now. Terms of observation and recognition on behalf of most of the country. But Freedom Day.
Well, so look at we're here, and we got the same situation going on that was going on in 1967. Still going on.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed, man. So I mean,
celebrate that day more than July 4th at this point. So that might be my near fucking Independence Day.
I just mean like this, man. At what point do you stop turning the other cheek and get pissed off, man? You know what I mean? Every single one of these sparking events of massive riots like the L.A. riots, the Watts riots, the Rodney King beatings, the the subsequent beatings of the Reginald Denny pulled from his truck. But you know what?
Yeah.
We did it. We did a show on these riots and the Watts riots. It started exactly the same way. There was an argument. There was a beating, and one thing led to another. And what was happening during these protests, the Watts protests, people were getting pulled out of their cars and killed, literally. And the whole thing started because a cop beat somebody up and fucked them up.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with Rodney King. Same thing. Nothing's changed either, has it? People are getting beat up and killed. Now it's even worse. People are getting beat up and killed. Cops, because now cops are afraid everybody's against them. The cops think everybody's going to shoot them. So
think they use direct energy weapons kind of things back then that got them all riled up to hate each other.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
That's some narrative management, though, there, man, about the cops and the like the rate at which they die. I was just looking at the study earlier this week. If you go from the 70s to now, a cop was 3 times more likely to be shot and killed on the job in the 70s, when there were significantly less cops as opposed to today.
Right, they didn't wear flak jackets, they didn't wear bulletproof vests, they were out in the streets.
They didn't even have semi-automatic weapons.
What I'm saying is there are substantially more
the cops now are militarized. That's why they don't get killed.
And the guns are more than there were. So it's like
the cops are
officer-related deaths, shootings, injuries, shit like that. It's never been safer to be a cop.
There you go. Well, see, the thing is, man, we're talking about militarized police that are organized in a way. In other words, man, if some dude knows how to wrestle, and you don't know that he knows, and he's standing right next to you, he can chop your legs out from under you in fucking 2 seconds flat, and you're gonna drop down on the floor. So the thing is the same thing. If you don't know who's standing next to you in any of these situations, it could be anybody. And so, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what about these protests that we just saw recently? Like, you saw these protests leading up to the election and all this. You saw these Proud Boys up in Washington D.C. They're marching around. They're doing all this shit. They're marching here. They're marching there. But there was nobody around. There was no BLM people. They were like all the way across town. But somehow, I don't know how they managed it, but they managed to march right down the same street of the hotel that Alex Jones was staying at. And just luckily, he actually came down out of the hotel and got on the bullhorn and gave a little speech. It was so precious. It was precious.
The JW Marriott.
Hang on, man. Hang on, bro. Hang on, Andy. Go ahead, Steve. What do you say, Steve?
I was gonna say, man, the JW Marriott is very, very centrally located, and if you're going to put on an outfit to maybe go fight somebody else that went and put on an outfit so they could fight you, it would be a logical place to stroll past. That's all I'm saying.
And I say, when you're a jet, you never forget, from your first cigarette to your last dying breath. And check.
Did you see Tucker Carlson last night go all in on, look at all the FBI agents that were involved in the planning of the Capitol 6th insurrection?
Yeah, well.
Snorection.
I don't really pay much attention to Tucker Carlson because I saw the video.
Never fucking heard him.
Look at all of the federal agents that were involved at the planning level for the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, the like Antifa resistance. It's worth going to watch, because this is something that I was saying that day when I was standing at the Capitol in Washington D.C. is holy shit. This is a real life psyop in real time. And we're going to get domestic terror legislation out of this. You know we are. And how many of the people do you think are feds that were involved on the street? You like the actual planning level of this shit. And
Well,
man,
just like the original Twin Towers bombing, where they planned
just
it, they
like the
cooked it.
plot for the Michigan governor, where like it turns out everybody involved was an FBI agent.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on a second. I'm trying to see.
So I mean, and this goes to the previous caller. For anybody who thought COINTELPRO was dead, I mean, we're witnessing COINTELPRO in the 21st century, right now, with the complete co-option of every activist movement bigger than, fucking 25 people. In the case of the Minnesota governor, it was only like 25 people, and almost all of them were feds. The ringleader, the guy who said they could get all of the weapons, all that stuff, the person who suggested kidnapping, all of them FBI agents.
Well, the thing is,
wasn't it those guys it was like 11 guys that set up, they gave them like they bought them boots, basically, as all it being major crime, right? They provided the boots for them of the things they were trying to. This is back in 2002, I want to say, somewhere around then. Strikes a bell. Right after the Patriot Act came into play, in 2001, right? Yeah, and they ended up all being innocent. They were all guys who were just set up as part of a COINTEL kind of operation where all the suggestions were made by the the very federal agents who were investigating them. And the only reason they tried to convict them or had something on them was because they took the shoes that they gave them, these boots. They didn't actually get guns and weapons at all. I have to look up the date, what it was, but you guys ring a bell with you guys? I remember. I think it was Minneapolis, wasn't it? I'm not positive. I think it was in there. It's that neck of the woods.
well, I don't know, but I think I found this Tucker Carlson piece. Let me run a piece of. Let me run some of this. This guy is just. I mean, literally, this guy is an actor. That whole thing he does on his show is a fucking act, man. This dude is an elite. This dude is part of the 1%, man. Wake up.
Half of 1/10%.
We're losing
He inherited the Swanson family fortune. That's him. He lived in La Jolla. Went to high school. I mean, come on, man.
Come on, man. It's the same thing over and over again. They can fool you. They fooled you with it once. Now they're fooling you with it again. Trump, he's just a regular guy. He's just like one of us. He's not part of the elite.
To an elite boarding school in Rhode Island, got famous for wearing bow ties on national television, and has spent his professional career bouncing between cushy cable news jobs. By all measures, Tucker Carlson is a member of the American elite.
How do you pay your bills?
Well, I'm extraordinarily loaded just from money I, inherited.
You're a trust fund baby, are you not?
No, completely. I've never needed to work. I mean, it's all just the whole cable news thing. It was like a phase I was going through.
So what is going on here? Why would a guy who bragged about being an out-of-the-closet elitist host a show where he rails against the ruling class? There's actually a pretty simple explanation for Tucker's new shtick, and it's called false consciousness.
But see, I'm an out-of-the-closet elitist. I don't run around pretending to be a man of the people.
The elites, to whom the rest of us mere plebes look on in awe.
I'm absolutely not a man of the people at all.
False consciousness is one of those phrases that grad students use to sound smart at parties. But essentially, it's a term in Marxist theory that describes when working class people are tricked into accepting their exploitation. So let's say you and your coworkers are feeling frustrated and start thinking of forming a union. To stop you, your boss might say,
"You don't need a union. The real problem is all these women taking maternity leave. If they weren't taking so much time off, we'd all be able to go home right now."
Or they might say,
"It's these damn privileged millennials. They're so obsessed with work-life balance that we all have to pick up the slack. Get mad at them."
The boss convinces the workers to accept their exploitation by pointing their anger in the wrong direction. Or as Tucker Carlson would say,
one thing you learn when you grow up in a castle and look out across the moat every day at the hungry peasants out in the village is you don't want to stoke envy among the proletariat.
Thanks, Tucker. So, how do you keep the hungry peasants in the village from storming the castle? Enter Tucker Carlson Tonight.
The show that is the sworn enemy of lying, pomposity, smugness, and groupthink.
Since it launched in 2016, Tucker's show has been a festival of false consciousness, bombarding viewers with an endless supply of culture war bullshit.
Could transracial be the new transgender? What's upsetting about lady-specific Doritos? If yoga is racist, is hot yoga more racist?
To be fair, this isn't unique to Tucker. Fox News' MO is using culture war stories to distract from right-wing economics. But what makes Tucker unique is how often he uses the language of anti-elitism while ignoring real exploitation. Take the 2017 Republican tax cuts, for example.
It's the largest tax cut in the history of our country, and reform.
Republicans spent months promising their tax cuts would help the middle class, including during several segments on Tucker's show.
This is really about a middle-income tax cut.
Okay.
That, of course, turned out to be a scam. The overwhelming majority of those tax cuts went to corporate shareholders and CEOs.
It's a giveaway to the very rich, permanent tax cuts for corporations, and almost nothing for the average person.
So what was Tucker Carlson, populist hero, talking about the week that happened?
Racist trees. In Palm Springs, California, city officials are planning to clear-cut a grove of tamarisk trees because they're racist.
Ah, yes. Racist trees.
I'm willing to believe you that there was racist intent in planting these trees. Why are we punishing the trees for that?
Tucker spent twice as long talking about this random tree story as he did about the tax cuts.
Does that seem a little unfair? If you were a tree, you might feel a little differently.
This is false consciousness in action.
Nothing's sacred, man. I'll take him out one at a time. That guy's a chump. Don't listen to him. I'm telling you right now. He looks out across the moat at the peasants and wonders how to keep them in line. Mom's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. Steve Coyne from Slow News Day. And Andy Gump is called in, Epic Journeyman. And this is Funky Destination. Revolution is the only solution. (626) 999-4761 626-999-4761. Join the conversation. That is Funky Destination. The Inside Man. Check it out. Find it on YouTube. 626-999-4761. You know what? Mako Road. I'm gonna make you feel good right now with this music. Okay? Make your life feel like this music. Alright? Here we go.
From the balcony, the river's flowing deep.
Make sure you turn down your radio.
Alright. Trains going by my window.
We're gonna get something to drink, so this music's gonna play for a bit, you callers. So just hang on the line and enjoy. Mako Road.
Brother, just listen and drink from the water now. Sister, just listen and drink from the water now. On the water, darkness looms. I feel it on my skin, feel it try to pull me in now. water now. Yeah. 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 Sister to sister and drink from the water now. Yeah. Yeah.
South to Mouth out of them. I'm Jimmy.
Got a message in our music. We got a message in our music. There's a message in our song.
All right, 760 and 801. Which one of you two is the new caller? I think it's 801. Is that you?
No, I've been here for a while.
Okay, stand by. 760. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Lou. Lou.
Hey, Lou.
Inside.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh,
Hey,
Lou.
hey, sorry, Lou.
Little...
I cannot remember you guys' phone numbers because I'm sitting too far away from the screen to even see them hardly at all. So just trust me on that. It's not that I don't remember you. It's just that I can't remember your number. Go ahead.
Oh, no worries.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not worried, bro.
All right, so hey, bro.
Hey, thanks. It's good hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you. So, what do you what do you got going for tonight, man? What's on your radar?
Well, I wish I had a moat.
Yeah,
and
me too.
And I wish I had a boy named Jeff and a girl named Chauncey.
Mm.
You know, and Jeff would be a little bit older than Chauncey, but Chauncey, you know, she's a princess. She can do whatever she wants. So it'd be like, Jeff, get in here. It's time for bed. Oh, Chauncey, you can go out and you can stay out and play.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's way out there. But I'm a product of the blind. I don't know, man. Like, dude, when I first heard NWA, it was in '88, and it was a tape that, like, it was a EP or EP.
Hey, man, I didn't know about this shit back then. I was listening to NWA. I was probably one of those white kids that was buying the CDs. No, I'm just kidding, but you see what I mean, though? I mean, I was listening to it, too. I liked it, too. I liked all of it.
I liked it, too.
So did I.
NWA,
yeah.
Nas,
So did I. I mean, I liked it.
But I loved it. I fell in love with it. The first time I heard the record being scratched, or that Public Enemy, you know, like, it's just like, and then I always felt like it was fun having Chuck D yell truth at you.
Yeah, man. And then, you know, it's
I've
funny.
seen Public Enemy like 4 times. I mean, I love hip hop in all its forms.
You know, what's funny is we did a show about the different styles of music and how sonic engineering changed over.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think we got it.
Yeah, so the sonic engineering changed over the years with the different styles of music, and but then the lifestyles changed along with these the sonically engineered music. So not to say that these guys were behind anything weird, but I'm just saying some dude who could have just been standing in the studio that night who said,
they
"Hey,
don't know. They say, do this. This will be cool.
Use this sound, man."
Yeah.
Everybody started using that shit, man. It turned out everywhere, didn't it?
It did.
That sound kept showing up. I mean, what did it do?
Snoop Dogg did it in a unique way. but it was probably
Tom
from
Morello, Rage Against the Machine, would do it with a guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude,
Well, I met a dude in
so crazy.
I met a dude in Hollywood in the 90s at a coffee house, and I was talking to him, and he was down there doing a study on frequency response while under the influence of ecstasy being, pounded by house music. So, I mean, back then, they were already doing studies. I mean, in other words, the particular style of house or different, whatever type of music, acid jazz, whatever it is, there's a particular tonal frequency that goes along with it. You know what I mean? And so if you're listening to house music and you're taking ecstasy, there may be some sort of dopamine reaction. I haven't really researched it, but I mean, that was the reaction they were looking for with LSD, was the dopamine release. And so maybe that's the same thing, but there's an opening of, mental pathways with frequency. And we talked a little bit about cymatics the other day. But Epic Journeyman, jump in here, man, because I'm recalling the show we did, and it was like when we moved from the...
I listened to the cymatics ones, but yeah.
Yeah, this was a while back, a couple
Interesting.
years ago, when we were talking about the move from the 90s, from the 80s to the 90s, and the different dance music and the different styles of, going into like a Studio 54 session where there was there was rock, and then there was disco, and there was this big...
we talked about the Roland kick,
Mhm.
the drum, and then I forget the name of it at the moment, but
The
talked about that.
808,
And then when
808.
the 808, the 808 kick, yep. And yeah, that's totally identifiable.
The Beastie Boys say nothing sounds quite like an 808.
Yep. Nothing.
It's true.
And the Beastie Boys, wow, they got it down.
And my posse's on Broadway as he goes, the 808 kick drum makes the girlies get dumb.
Yeah, because it really does.
So we talked about how they moved, they changed the music. That's one of the things they did. And then the FM slide, where they do that called the dog whistle, the wheat,
Yeah,
wheat,
yeah,
right?
that's what we were
Just
just talking
grabs your
about.
attention. Yeah, and
Dog
and they started
whistle.
using sampling.
Yeah, man, sampling, and then, but so it went from the psychic driving, so it's like the attention span changed, right? So we used to have 3 minutes of psychic driving to really hammer it into our heads. But once the 3 minutes of psychic driving has been done to you, now you don't need the 3 minutes anymore. You just need that little chunk right there. Just put that little piece right there, and then as soon as you hear that, instant recognition, man. So you hear Eddie Van Halen playing guitar on a Michael Jackson song, and you don't like soul music. All of a sudden, you might start liking a little bit of soul music, man. You hear Run DMC playing "Walk This Way," and Aerosmith bashes the wall down and comes over there and just finishes the song with you. I mean, that's called crossing over, man. And a I mean, there it is, and on TV for you. But you can see that there's this melding of marketplaces. In other words, you can only sell so much rock, and these goddamn white kids aren't buying any of our other artists over. We gotta find a way to cross this over. Get me Aerosmith.
So what do you think about body
Well,
count?
and
Does
that
body
was-
count?
Go ahead, Steve.
There you go, crossover.
I was gonna say the Aerosmith Run DMC thing. That was Russell Simmons and Rick Rubin too.
There
Did
you go.
that. Because Run DMC was a Def Jam band.
Yeah.
Silly.
It's so
Silly.
crazy, isn't it?
Silly.
It's
That
so-
video was
and
dope,
you know
though.
what? Yeah, that's right. I mean, the videos came out, and that's what changed almost all of it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And that's what made us get distracted. That's what made us get distracted, or did distract us. And like, I mean, all of these years, like, I know about hip hop, but I don't know about the Malcolm X, Jimmy, that you just played. That was amazing, dude.
Well, hey, man, a lot of his talks you can go find up on the internet, man. They're all there, bro. And if like I say, I recommend. There's a movie. It's called Make It Plain, because what people do is it's called putting icing on it. So you have a hype man that comes out, like you have a hype man in hip hop too. I mean, it's the same thing, but in church,
sure.
but in church you have a hype man who comes out and he puts icing on it, you know, for the preacher before the preacher walks out.
Right.
You know what I
And
mean?
he
gets
has
everybody
chant in the background.
right.
Preach on.
Everybody's singing
Yeah.
and getting hyped up, and then out walks the preacher. Okay, so Malcolm X's thing was, he said to his dude, to his man, he said, make it. He always used to say, make it plain. In other words, he didn't want all that bullshit. He just wanted him to say, you know, X or whatever, Malcolm X. Here's Malcolm X. No icing, you know, no hype man. And that's why the movie's called Make It Plain. And I swear to God, it's worth every minute of your time to watch that movie and understand what happened to the man.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can find it. It's 3 hours long.
Oh, sweet.
It's 3 hours
Sweet.
long.
I'll check it out, because I feel like this is what we like. I don't know. I'm a white dude, so like I'm not that I ever lost it, because I never had it or whatever. Like, but I want to know, like.
Yeah, I mean, how can you?
Like how the, like you were talking about, the Black Panthers were peaceful, but they marched with guns, and like, you know, it's like this is what we need to know.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. How can you?
And I want to thank you, Jimmy, man, dude. This was awesome tonight.
You're welcome, dude. But how can we
Hey,
understand?
If you're interested, the woman who I consider my spiritual advisor, Reverend Annie Chambers, she's still alive, lives in Baltimore. She's been on my show a number of times. Her oldest brother, James, was Malcolm X's lieutenant.
Wow.
Like, she grew up with Malcolm X as kind of like a secondary father figure.
Maybe you should have her
Her
on.
brother was 26 years old. She's not awake at midnight, dude.
Not
she lives
now.
in Baltimore. She's in her 80s.
Not for me. hey, dude. Not for me. I'm saying you should have her on Sunday, because Juneteenth is on Saturday. So
I already
Sundays.
have the show booked, man. I do. And then I'm traveling for a couple of weeks, but she's due to come back on soon anyway. We were talking a while ago, but she's fascinating. She got stories about the Panthers that you've like never heard before, or only heard of on the periphery. Like she was a teenager in the Black, you know, like growing up as a Panther. She went to Cuba. The first or second time she was on the show, she told us who Tupac's real dad was.
Wow,
that's interesting. So that whole thing too, man. There's a lot of speculation about what happened in Vegas, and if that even really happened. You know, and Tupac,
heard it all,
and
too.
you know, and I swear, I mean, there was a lot more to Tupac than met the eye for sure. He wasn't just some dude, you know.
The first way I heard about the Illuminati, to tell you the truth, was Tupac.
So his aunt was busted out of jail in New Jersey, and she went to Cuba, and so
No, that's his mom.
Asada
Shakur, that's his mom.
Yeah, but I mean, there was somebody that was broken out of jail that was his aunt that was in New Jersey that was not his mom, and they blew up the jail and broke that person out. I can't remember her name, but anyway, she took off to Cuba. And then there was this whole controversy where people trying to speculate that they saw Tupac in Cuba and this and that, and so they were trying to put that whole timeline together with that, the whole idea that, you know, there was more political influence happening around that assassination in Vegas, and had to do with Tupac's ability to you know, communicate to the people, and he was somebody that they didn't want to have in a position to be in a leadership position in the event that these measures and these things that are going on, maybe even right now, I mean, maybe these times that had just passed here, maybe these would have been these moments where if he was there, something would have happened different than it happened. And so you see that there's none of these strong black leaders, these what you would even consider a role model, seem to be killed or emasculated somehow, or are taken out of the picture. And just like Malcolm X was saying, you know, if it's black and it's strong, coffee's strong and black, what are you going to do? They pour cream in it, make it weak, and make it cold, you know, until it doesn't even get you woke up anymore, and you're just falling asleep. And don't fall asleep.
Wow.
Don't fall asleep. It's Aftermath FM. My name's Jimmy. It's in the microcosm. Steve McCoy from Slow News Day, Epic Journeyman, Andy Gump, and Lou. We're all here.
Yeah.
And but you know what? It's time for us to say goodbye until we meet again.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, Hogan's Heroes. Hey, Hogan's Heroes tomorrow night, and Giuseppe Vavangula.
Oh, sick.
And Scorpio's going to be here. Yeah, tomorrow night's going to be fun.
I see nothing.
Nothing. All right.
Dude, I'm watch Hogan's Heroes tomorrow. Then.
Badass. All right, listen, we're out of here. See you
Yeah,
guys.
good night,
See
you
you guys
guys.
tomorrow night. This is LTJ. I don't want to lose this groove to ever ends. It's Aftermath FM. It's into the microcosm. This ain't your granddaddy's late night, boy.
New Rate Essentials.
We'll see ya tomorrow night. Drive safe. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
This storm is coming like a ghost town. All the clubs are being closed down. This place is coming like a ghost town. Bands won't play no more. Too much fighting on the dance floor.
Okay. We are out of there. A minute early and not a moment too soon, Jack. I've been busting my ass all day to get this done, and get up here, get this thing wired, to get us going. So, hey, man, we made it through, and I think that was a really good show. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Jimmy.
Hey, thank you, guys. We appreciate you much, man, for calling in. And,
man,
don't hesitate.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, hey, don't hesitate, man. Tomorrow night, Hogan's Heroes. There was another one we were doing, too, Epic, right? So it was Hogan's Heroes and something else. Might be Gilligan's Island.
Gilligan's Island would be great. We talked about Gilligan's Island.
All right,
before.
Stevie. See you, man.
We didn't do the show. We talked about doing the show.
Hey, Epic Journeyman.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Epic Journeyman.
Mm-hmm.
You got a nice. You have a nice moat.
I need to work on my moat. I got a VR moat though.
Well,
No,
no,
he
dude,
means you're on-
in Hawaii.
Yeah, there's.
Oh yeah,
You're
well,
in Hawaii.
nice,
You're on,
nice.
You're on Hawaii. You've
Yeah.
got a nice moat.
Yeah, man.
I do. Nice observation, actually. That's correct.
That's
You
funny.
are correct, sir.
That's funny, man.
Oh,
Good.
man,
That's a
you
good.
guys are awesome.
That's a good one, man. All right, you guys, listen.
Thank you.
We got a GTFO out of here, man. Because.
All right. Hey, what the fuck Wednesday? I love
know.
it.
Yeah, man. I heard you.
Are you ready for this?
Me, I don't want to make a mistake, jeopardize my future. You want to know something? Every now and then, say what the fuck. What the fuck gives you freedom? Freedom brings opportunity. Opportunity makes your future.
Your stats are very respectable. You've done some solid